Warriors Unite! Time for another episode of Vigor Warriors 2 and the 1% Club. Hope you guys are doing well. I'm going to move my camera over a little bit here. Hope you guys are having a great morning. Hope you guys are on your purpose conquest. I'm going to work in the yard for a little bit this morning, so I figured I'd do one before I did that. Hope you guys are doing great. And thank you for the comments and the subscriptions and the likes. We are getting close to now. I've kind of figured out some different ways to do a live stream. So we're going to do that, and hopefully my picture's a little better. I got sun in the background there. But hopefully we'll do that. And also I'm thinking about some ways to do some consulting. Now, I'd say consulting, but I'm only kind of giving my experiences. I do consulting work when it comes to communication and businesses and all that. But this is a different type of field because I'm really kind of going back on my experiences. So I will try to kind of set something up. I know a few of you guys have been asking for that. And so we'll kind of try to set something up with that as well to help you guys as much as possible. All right. And so let's do some shout outs before we actually get to our topic. It's a very interesting one, I think, today. But Moy Hernandez, thank you. Mark Anthony, don't worry, my friend. Mark, keep going. Keep on your purpose. We all have problems with relapse and things like that. Senium asked me where I'm at, and I think it's, I know it's 3 years, but it's probably around 1,060 some days, something like that. So I don't even keep track of it anymore, and I think that's probably the best way to do it. I'm only doing it, I've always done it just as a reference points, so you guys kind of see the situation. I know some people have kind of commented on how young I look and things like that. It's greatly appreciated, but it just shows you that Kedler's stuff is working, and especially the consumer retention part is excellent. So thank you, Mark. Leon W. Fist of the North Star. I'm going to talk about one of the things you asked about Fist, so we'll talk about that in a second. Capital T, World Class Champion, J.E.Law, thank you. Guido, C Enlightened, Soulitaire Record Officiel, good, thank you. Faith, thank you. Peelzoezae Rob, Inside 3D, 22 days, keep going. Be careful of Jezebel, you're exactly right. Use your no contact. What I would do with a Jezebel is use no contact, try to get away for a while and rethink the situation. Get your head together first before you go back and talk to that person, because you don't want to get yourself in temptation situation. Bob Cool and Cheng V, thank you, my friend, for your comments. All right, so our comment today, focusing on stop trying to get validation from women under SR. This is the key. And we had a couple of interesting points here. Brilliance made a comment about saying that the problem with us men, and I'll have to focus this on a later video, the problem with us men is that it doesn't matter what we're trying to get attention from women because of how women look. A good-looking woman, any kind of woman, we want to get attention. And it's easy to become simp behaviors when you start doing that kind of stuff. And I see people. I had an example the other day of a guy who, he broke up with his girl. She's still living with him. No, not getting anything from the relationship, but just still paying for her bills. This is simp behavior, my friends. This is simp behavior. You do not want to get in a situation like that where you're not really kind of doing anything for your goals. All you're doing is kind of doing everything for her and making her the on a pedestal, doing everything for her. That's not the way life should be. Life should be as you're the leader. You're the one out there. She needs to be submissive in those things to you. Now, you're submissive in a way as well because you're trying to provide, protect, and those things. But she is not going to respect you if all you're doing is paying her bills and there's nothing else going on in the relationship. She's just kind of freeloading. And it's not really her fault as much as it's your fault. As a warrior, we need to stand up and say no. Now, what does that get back into? Well, Yisrael had a good comment talking about you are what you think all the time. And he's very right about that. And the whole key to this whole situation is the fact that you cannot think about how much the woman is important to you. You've got to think about you first. You've got to say, look, I'm the one setting up goals. I'm the one developing my purpose through God. And I want to make sure that as this situation occurs with this woman, I am going to focus on this woman being part of my life. What does she feel in part of my life? You know, there's an interesting comment. Somebody told me that you should look at women as personal assistants. Well, I'm not sure if I could go that far, but there's some truth in what that statement is. You do not want to put her so far above you that makes her ego grow, and you need to kind of push it down, because especially with a beautiful woman, there's so many guys saying great things around to her all the time that you're just going to be another one in that category. If you're really interested in this person. Now, again, I go back to the whole thing again of saying you really shouldn't even be chasing women at all. They should be chasing you. But the idea is that even if you need to get, you're interested in a woman, the worst thing you do is just kind of flatter or give all kinds of compliments. I wouldn't even compliment her on her looks. I'd compliment her on something she did, because the bottom line really is she's getting compliments all the time. But the problem we have with a lot of males, especially us warriors, is that you try to get validation in your own way. You try to get validation and attention from the woman from giving her compliments. I would go the opposite approach. I wouldn't be giving attention at all. I would just be doing my own thing. And if women make the choice, then there's of their own volition, they're going to like you. And because of cognitive dissonance, they're not going to go ahead and say, you know, I don't like this person, because they made the original choice. And they're going to stick with you because that was a choice. Because now if they change their choice, that means they were wrong in the first place. This is why it's important from that standpoint, even if you're looking for somebody, to go ahead and say, you know, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm not going to focus on this woman, because I need to focus on my goals, my purpose through God, and those things will fall into place. And the biggest thing you got to kind of worry about is that ego of that person, because she's been giving so many great compliments over the years, and all these men all over her, that here you are standing above the rest because of your energy level. But even not only because of that, but because your confidence, and you're not chasing, you know your value. See, a masculine male knows his value. He knows he is a strong male. He doesn't need to go compliment people for things just because they look a certain way. If the woman hasn't deserved it, do not give a compliment. And make sure you tell her things she's doing wrong as well, because she's not going to hear that very often either. And so when we get to this whole discussion here, we're talking about this thing, we need to kind of look back at why we do this. And I go back to what Fist asked here. Fisk has some good questions, because as probably a newer subscriber, there's questions, and I would also refer back to some of my old videos about talking about semen retention. But let's go back to look at this whole thing of why we are doing this. Why are we focusing on semen retention? We're focusing on semen retention because you want to be the best male you can be. In this society, we are losing the masculinity war. Now, Fist asked about the war we're talking about. We're talking about the masculinity war. We're talking about the fact that we're losing males. And why do we need males? Because we need males to protect and provide, especially protect. The bottom line really is men are stronger than women. And women will not be able to protect us against other forces from other countries. It's not going to happen. And no offense to women at all, but they're not going to be able to do that. And you need strong males. The trouble is, in society, we've been brainwashed to the point where you're no longer a strong male. And especially in the sense of releasing energy all the time. And the whole thing is that it's a spiritual thing as well. And I think, Fist, you make a good point. It's not only a physical thing, but the physical and the spiritual, all energy comes together. If you're somebody who's no fapping, who's not watching those images, who are not releasing to those images, you are getting stronger spiritually day by day. And you're in a realm where now you're talking to God directly, because you're not focusing on women all the time. You're focusing on God. And that's what you should be doing most of the time. Now, obviously, if you want to find that female, or you're interested in this female that you're talking with, then you have to approach it a certain way. And this is why I kind of do videos, because people ask me these kind of questions a lot. But the idea is that you don't necessarily want to base your life around females. You want to base your life about your goals and your purposes. And once that happens, then all those other things end up falling in place. And the women chase you. And this happens all the time. Now, you have the choice then to decide what I want to do with that. But if you're in that sense where you're kind of going back and forth, and I was there for many years, 47, something like that, you know that you could go back and simp anytime if you're not careful. Because you need that attention so much. And it was one of my issues as a young warrior. I had to deal with that whole validation thing. Getting attention from women, or getting attention from women. And the problem with that is that you now give them the power over you. And males should always be in control. Males should be the dominant force. We talk about that through eye contact. We talk about that through your energy, your aura, your power. You have an immense power when it comes to semen retention. Now, again, Fist, the reason we're doing this is because you're trying to become the best male person you can. Now, this also applies to females, but I haven't really talked about the female part, because most of the time females, they don't really have the same issues males do. Because males are very visually oriented, they get attracted by these images and pictures and movies and all these kind of things on the internet. Women are not as much into that, because women look at things differently. They're more than nurturing thing, nurturing, being brought up families and nurturing type of things. Those type of things females focus on a lot more. Yes, they become attracted. I mean, yes, they have the desires, but not to the same level. This is why I kind of talk to males directly, because most males are the ones being affected by this. Especially a lot of young males who we focus on trying to look at, saying, okay, what is going on here? What is the idea that we're focusing on? What is something that really needs to kind of have happen so that you're not being affected by this situation? And the male situation is one that you have to watch out for temptation. I call it the evil one. I call for some situation where the evil one's tempting you through women, through different things like that, to become weaker. And then when you release, you become a weaker person. And because of that, then, you're going to be not as strong as you would be. And sometimes males are releasing 4 or 5 times a day. And as a young male, that's a very bad thing to do. And I know, because I was there years ago. And the thing you want to do is you want to make sure you keep that energy force. Now, it's inside of you, Fist. Those type of things are inside of you. And the whole idea is you're trying to focus on keeping as much energy as you can. In some other types of cultures, brahmacharya is a good example. They talk about this is your life force. Now, I talk about it because I focused on that book, Kendler's Fountain of Youth. One of my goals years ago was to try to live longevity as long as I could, and as prosperous, as healthy as I could. And I'm in a lot better condition now at 62. I'll be 62 in another week. When I was 35. When I first started a lot of this back in 1998, I wasn't as strong. I was actually going on a decline because I had played football in high school and college. I had gotten injuries and all kinds of other things, and I was not in good condition. But this whole thing turned me around to understand what your energy is. And I teach physics, and so I understand energy and matter. So the bottom line is we're doing all this to try to give knowledge for people, and I know it's helped me, so I've tried to pass this on to all the viewers, to try to become someone who is standing above the crowd, who is better than a normal person. And yes, we are going to go ahead and get attracted by females. Once again, the birds can fly over you, but do not let those birds nest in your head. So yeah, you might be attracted, and the fact that you have sexual energy means that you're going to be attracted to any female that looks attractive. Of course you are. And you, by the way, should never do that. Even if you're married, you should never, in my opinion, lose that ability to find women attractive. Now, lust is different, in my opinion. Obviously, lusting at a woman, after a woman, especially if you're married or something like that, is not the right thing, of course. But noticing an attractive woman, that's something that is important in a sense. The sense is that you still have that energy. You should never lose that energy, because then you can transmute that energy into different things. So whenever you start feeling that energy, now you transmuted it. And we've done videos on that before. But the whole idea, my friends, is that you're supposed to be trying to focus on bettering yourself. Don't focus on the women. And surely do not try to focus on getting their attention. That is something I did as a mistake for years. Do not focus on the women trying to get their attention. So stop trying to get women's attention during semen retention. Especially at any time, not just during semen retention, but your whole life. And this is a lifestyle type change. So one of the lifestyle type changes we're talking about here is stop trying to get their attention. Focus on being the strong person you are, and everything else will fall into place. Do your own thing, and then women will come calling. Now, the question then becomes, again, as I always posed it, what are you going to do with that? If you're interested in having one girlfriend or have a wife, okay, that's something you can kind of take some of the information we've been talking about and perhaps kind of use that. But again, don't make her the central focus, even if it's your wife. Women are wonderful. Wives are wonderful. They're great. There's nothing wrong with them. But you cannot make them the center point of your life, because then you lose your identity. You lose your purpose. And God wanted you to become the dominant person, the leader. And women expect that. Over and over again, I've seen that. And I even saw a story the other day about women who were being interviewed on a panel, whether they didn't sleep with anybody or slept with 100 people. The same old thing. They want the male to be dominant. And this is important. I don't care if it's in the bedroom or anywhere else. You've got to be the dominant person. So you got to have the confidence to do that. But that also starts with retention, because you got benefits from retention that you can't find if you're not retaining. And that's important. All right, my friends. Well, again, thank you guys. Yisrael, I appreciate your comment along with everybody else's. And Senium and Fist and Brilliance made a good comment as well there. And everybody else we gave shout outs to. I appreciate it, guys. And we'll do another one maybe later tonight or tomorrow. And we'll kind of see you guys at that point. All right, until then, two things I always leave you with. First, every day, and this is another day coming, every day is a new day to a great warrior. And so, it is time, guys, to get out there and battle!